With the airing of The Power of the Doctor, the Chris Chibnall Jodie Whittaker era of Doctor Who has finally come to a close. And by golly, was it an episode. I'll just say this up front. If you were a fan of this era already, then I'm pretty sure you loved it, because that's exactly what this special was. For some reason, I thought that with a ton of time and money for the BBC Centennial special, Chibnall would pull out all the stops and deliver something actually really special. But it seems like the issues with this era haven't been about laziness. He is just genuinely unable to make quality, engaging sci-fi television. It's kind of funny, like Chibnall is a character on Dragon Ball Z. We let him take all the time and help he needed to charge up to full power, and it was still a massive stinker. But I'm not just gonna give empty criticism here. Let's jump into my more granular thoughts on the episode. Oh, a little disclaimer first. I did not watch Flux. I couldn't be bothered. So I don't know anything about Dan or the weird aliens with the gems on their faces. I'm coming into the special fresh. I'm assuming the same way that a lot of casual viewers of the show did. So to start out, I have like 3 or 4 primary problems with this special that are also true of the entirety of Chibnall's era. So let's start from the top. There is not a single original idea anywhere in this convoluted mess they decided to call a plot. I did my best to keep a running tally of all the shameless ripoffs Chibnall managed to squeeze in. Here we go. The Rasputin Master dancing is lifted straight from the scene with Sim's Master. The Doctor contacting a companion through use of a hologram, starting with, "If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead," is straight out of Series 1. The space train is lifted from Mummy on the Orient Express. Kate Stewart looking for help because there's an issue with paintings is pulled right out of the Day of the Doctor. The line in the beginning about how the train doesn't have any cargo is lifted from the Johnny Depp Captain Jack line, "People ain't cargo, mate." They try to pretend a Dalek defecting and being kind of good is this thing that's never happened, but it was Capaldi's second episode ever. The Master turning other people into himself is also ripped right out of the Davies era with the Sim Master. The Doctor piloting the TARDIS with the help of a crew of returning companions, also right out of the Davies era. The lone Cyberman being a vessel for an entire army of Cybermen is pulled, you guessed it, right from the Dalek arc in Series 2 of Davies' era. The hologram of the fugitive Doctor defeating the Cybermen by making them blast each other is stolen from Moffat. He did the same thing with the Weeping Angels in Blink, and with the Daleks around Gallifrey in the 50th anniversary. And finally, Chibnall somehow managed to rip himself off, as the Doctor is trapped in a machine with the Master and his Cyber Masters around her, while she has a conversation with herself inside her own mind. It just happened in The Timeless Children. Wow, okay, all of that was my first problem. Are you starting to see why I wasn't exactly a big fan of this special? Problem numero dos. The show has absolutely no tension. Things just keep happening one after the other with absolutely no time to breathe or even comprehend or appreciate them. Dan has an entire character arc, and I use that term in the loosest sense possible, in the first 15 minutes of the special, of which he's on screen for maybe 4 minutes. It's so wild. I have no idea how we're meant to care about anyone or anything happening when it's just being blasted in our faces at the speed of light. Every dilemma that the Doctor faces, and again, that's a word I use incredibly loosely, is instantly resolved. Or, in some cases, it's not resolved at all. Do you remember Doomsday or Angels Take Manhattan? The entire episode is about the Doctor and his companions contemplating and dealing with the fact that they are eventually going to be separated from one another. And here, the Doctor and Yaz splitting up is just silently agreed upon with no discussion. Yaz doesn't even ask to stick around and see who she regenerates into. We're supposed to believe that these two love each other, maybe even romantically, but there's nothing. No tears, no blustering, absolutely nothing. I'm convinced that anyone who genuinely cares about these characters must be projecting their own emotions and experiences onto them, or maybe they're just in love with their own headcanon versions. Because this was the most flat, boring, by-the-numbers goodbye I have ever seen. And the whole episode, every interaction is like this. Problem number 3. The characters are so flat. I kind of touched on this in the last one, but wow. If you held a laser screwdriver to my head, I would not be able to describe even a single thing to you about Yaz's personality. The Doctor is good, happy, and nice. That's the complete entirety of her performance. The Master, and don't even get me started on the Master, okay? He's just, I recognize how big of an insult this is. He's just a bad imitation of Jared Leto's Joker, who's already the worst Joker. He's crazy and bad. That is it. There are no hints of the nuance of previous versions of the character. No lingering care for their previous friend, which was expressed by a sort of longing in Missy, but it was also expressed in a bitter refusal to regenerate by Sim's Master. And half the time, his goofy, silly craziness, it isn't even funny, it's just grating. Before you point to, campy versions of the character in the past, I want to explain, this Master is briefly defeated by Yaz when she pushes him down. I'm supposed to be intimidated by this villain? Seriously? He's a joke! And Jodie's final words as she regenerated, they just punctuate my point, okay? She says, "Tag, you're it." It's extremely positive, but it's also incredibly simple and infantile. I know Doctor Who is a show for kids, but kids are smarter than this. They can see a villain who is intimidating and has complex motivations. They can comprehend when characters are multifaceted. Problem 4? Show, don't tell. That is one of the simplest, most fundamental rules of writing. When you follow it, your viewers become engaged. It makes them care about the characters and the situations that they're in. Breaking Bad is one of the most critically acclaimed shows of all time. Tell me, how often does Walter White explain to someone how he feels emasculated and needs to act out so he can be in control? Zero times! We see it play out through his actions, and it's fascinating and engaging and powerful. But for whatever reason, Chibnall is completely obsessed with doing the opposite. He always tells instead of shows. The Doctor must narrate every single thing that happens on screen that could easily be conveyed visually. She needs to constantly be talking, chattering on about the sci-fi jargon, sucking all of the tension right out of whatever is happening. And that's not all. Everything has to be told to us. At the beginning, Tegan explains to Ace that she received a box from the Doctor. Why couldn't you just show us that? That is not like a budget issue. Show us Tegan opening up the box. There's so much intrigue there. Tegan, where's she been all this time? What's she up to? Wait, she got a box? What's in the box? Who sent it? The Doctor sent it? That makes me ask so many questions. Will the Doctor send it in the future, like it hasn't happened yet in chronologically in this part of the timeline? Or has she been keeping tabs on Tegan this whole time? All that audience engagement is lost when you just have her explain on the phone that it happened like a week ago. A complete waste of a good plot point. Or the new moon appearing in the sky. We had to be told that while we saw a visual on a screen instead of watching it happen and seeing people react to it. As someone who cares even a little bit about writing, it is infuriating to watch Chibnall do this over and over and over again. Let me touch on a few other smaller things that bugged me. Seeing Sacha Dhawan wearing Jodie Whittaker's Doctor outfit just reinforced to me how terrible of an outfit it is. It is so visually bland and meek. I think this was genuinely, even among all the other issues, one of the biggest problems with the era. Joe Martin's Doctor has drip. She has sauce. She looks cool. But 13 has negative drip somehow. It is embarrassing. The Timeless Children thing went nowhere. It was completely pointless. Now, like I said, I didn't watch Flux. My understanding is they did touch on it a little bit there, and feel free to correct me in the comments, but that whole plot point ended up being a massive flop, and it didn't, quote, open a fresh new story opportunity like its defenders loved saying that it would. It was terrible. From every way you look at it, and Chibnall went nowhere with it. And last one, the Doctor and Yaz, that was queer bait, right? That's not exactly my area of expertise, and I sure wasn't invested in either of these characters, but they have been setting them up to be romantic since the small teases all the way back in Series 11. It's crazy to think that even the people who liked this era, who wanted to see some romance between these characters, they didn't get a single thing. No kiss, no I love you. They didn't even consider staying together post-regeneration. It's wacky. Now, all of that said, I'm not a complete grumpy wumpus, okay? I have some actual positive things to say about the special, believe it or not. The classic Doctors, completely shined through all of it. They were a real treat. I still enjoy seeing David Bradley's portrayal of 1, and seeing 5 through 8 was an unexpected gift. Not to mention, seeing them interact. Even if it was rather non-conventional, I got to watch 7 and 8 argue. That was incredible. I love these actors. I love their doctors. It was great. Seeing 5 and Tegan again nearly made me tear up when he said Braveheart. Oh my god. And 7 and Ace, that brought so much joy to my shriveled little fanboy heart. On that note, Ace is actually my favorite classic companion, so pairing her up with the one good thing to come out of the Chibnall era, Graham, great choice. They had a very fun little dynamic. And last thing, I did actually really like the concept of the episode. The true power of the Doctor is the way she touches the lives of those around her, and how they will be there to help when needed. I wish there was more nuance, obviously, and we've seen this exact thing happen in both the Davies and the Moffat eras, but a companion support group with tons of familiar faces, including Ian Chesterton? Now that was sweet. It was genuinely sweet. Those are my thoughts on Power of the Doctor, and subsequently, the Chibnall era as a whole. It was flat, boring, unoriginal, a disappointing time for the show. You can't deny that there was some genuine passion and joy for the series deep, deep, deep down, but that's certainly not enough to save it. I'm very curious to see how people will look back on this era in like 10 or 20 years. But now we're moving on to the future, to fresh, new, original horizons, territory never tread upon by Doctor Who, with the 14th Doctor played by David Tennant? Huh?